Hi, everyone. This is Norman Kochnick here. For an episode that we haven't had, I counted up 246 videos ago. That was the last time we had an Aussie and a Pom talk all things cricket. Not just India, but talk all things cricket. And in fact, this is going to be episode 19. That last one, 246 videos ago, was actually episode 18. So this is episode 19. And we have the luxury of an available Chris Vernon between his several other businesses and girlfriends and what have you, and even Munchie saying good morning, guys. It's good to have you, Chris.
Good morning. Yeah, it's nice to be back. I apologise to the millions now. I think it's now millions, isn't it, of subscribers and viewers?
Well,
I apologise for my absence, but it's good to be back.
But isn't absence makes the heart grow fonder? I'm sure all the Indian girls will come flooding back, and
I doubt that.
Because we seem to have branched off very nicely into Pakistan. Pakistan have been welcoming us, having gone to Pakistan to play. That is Australia. After 24 years, the last time there, Mark Taylor scored a triple hundred. I think it was basically the same score as Bradman. I've actually got a framed picture, and that's signed on my wall. A big deal, isn't it, really, for international cricket, for Australia to be playing in Pakistan?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I think England are meant to go there next winter or October time. Definitely for some one-dayers, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it's obviously a great thing. It's a very proud cricketing nation, isn't it, Pakistan? So it's good that to get cricket back there, and let's just hope that it can continue and there's no more hiccups or any issues that can stop that.
No, well, I mean, look, the whole fear factor, which happened in 2009 under the coach, Trevor Bayliss, the Australian coach, Trevor Bayliss, he had Sri Lanka there. And a lot of the guys that were on that tour I know very well, like Chaminda Vas, I've spoken to him not long ago about how he feels. Tilan Samawira was there. I know them both very well. There's a string of others that were there for the Sri Lankan team. And admittedly, they had some pretty horrible experiences. You can't stop cricket because of an incident like that. It's very sad that it did. I understand why they had to do it, but if they went down that track, we'd never play against Afghanistan. We'd never play in Kenya or Zimbabwe or even South Africa itself. You could go on and talk about them even playing in America. We just can't. We can't stop cricket. I'm so glad that it's back, and it's a testament to the Pakistani fans that came to the ground. They've supported this channel and other work that's out there. It's been incredible. And the test match, I mean, I love seeing old-fashioned batting where a person bats and bats and bats, even if it might be a road. I think that's brilliant to see Asar Ali and, Al-Haq, as he's another Al-Haq, Imam Al-Haq, he's been a fantastic, and Abdullah Shafiq, all brilliant. Babar Azam and the Australians accordingly, especially Usman Khawaja, which I'm very happy that he's opening the batting. I think we talked about it some time ago, didn't we, about him?
Yeah, I guess that it's just a shame, I guess, in that first Test match, the pitch was so flat and so dead, wasn't it? But
Chris, this is my issue. And they go, oh, the pitch, blah blah blah. Well, both teams have to play on it. They have to adjust. Australia only got 3 wickets and a run out, whereas Pakistan were able to get them all out. So really, you can't just blame the pitch in that case. And now this second match, Australia have completely turned it around. They've scored 500, and Pakistan have failed in the first innings of 148, although they are currently 2 for 104. In the second innings, Babar Azam's on 47 and Shafiq's on 44. So I hope that they go on and really make it a go of this.
Yeah, no, I think you can blame the pitch. I think it was just too flat, wasn't it? You could play for 10, 15 days on that wicket and probably wouldn't have got a result. So both sides adapted well. Both sides have scored a lot of runs, and we've talked a lot about pitches before in the subcontinent or in England, everywhere in the world. But if every Test match was played on a wicket like that first Test match, it would be a very boring affair. So
no, I agree with that.
Nice stat pattern is for the guys.
It ebbs and flows. You have matches which finish in 2.5 days, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't mind that. I think people have to remember what cricket was really like. Now, Tharoon V's, first of all, welcomed you back, and then he's talked about some of the Babar Azam shots, which have been really good off the back foot off line. Steve Smith dropped a catch, a sitter. Did you see that?
I didn't. I haven't watched much of it, to be fair. I've been out this morning and I've just got back about 40 minutes ago, and I watched the
he
last
certainly
10
did
minutes.
very Steve Smith-like, actually. We'll see what happens with that. Nalakshi Sharma is here. Hello, Chris and Norman. Nalakshi's joined us as well. Nice to see you.
Hello.
So
she's put the me first, which is important as well. So she's clearly, yeah, she knows her stuff.
she's very good. Now, what do you think of Pat Cummins as a captain?
I haven't seen, as I said, I haven't watched much of it, but he doesn't set, he is an exception to the rule that it's typically batters, especially in Australia. You know, it's always been one of your top order batters who are captain. But he seems to, he's had a nice start, hasn't he? He didn't have to do too much in the Ashes series in terms of tactically being a good captain. It was basically bowlers run up and bowl straight, and they won 4-0. So not an easy chance to go to Pakistan. You know, you'd hope that if he comes away with not losing that series, then that's probably a really positive thing as well. Is it 4 tests or 3 tests in Pakistan? 3. So if they can win this, which I think that I question his decision to bat again in this test match, especially to only get 90. You know, I think that if you're going to bat, get 180, 200 and set them 650, you know, but to just go out and get 90, it seems to have taken some time out of the game. You know, when Pakistan, let's face it, there's no real demons in that wicket, and the last thing you want to do is for Pakistan to dead bat a day on a flat one and end up 200 for 8. You know, when that extra 20, 30 overs might have played a big difference. But yeah, he's had a good start, hasn't he? I said England rolled over and died in that Ashes series. To give him a first series.
Were you embarrassed or upset about that series? What was your take?
A bit of both, really. I think there were some really questionable selections. The first 2 tests, particularly, they got the teams mixed up. You know, they played Leach and no Anderson at the Gabba, or no Broad, sorry, or Anderson at the Gabba. And then played 5 seamers at Adelaide. You know, they should have switched it over. Broad and Anderson play at the Gabba, and they win the toss and bowl. I think that's a very different test match. But it's never nice to go and get annihilated, is it? The batting looks very weak at the moment, and there's a few guys I think in that side that probably had enough. You know, Butler, I think, has coming to the end of his test match career. Hal Wokes keeps getting picked overseas at the, you know, the absolute farce, that test match squad they've taken to the West Indies in terms of the bowling. But yeah, I think it's a good time at the moment to have a refresh, get some new faces in, and hopefully can rebuild for a couple of years' time when the Aussies come back here.
So Anderson and Broad, what was your take on Strauss coming in and dumping them?
Well, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? They're our best 2 bowlers by miles. Robinson started very well. Wood is obviously very promising, but I guess if you're going to break it down, I understand that the reasoning for having a refresh or a new start, but then they pick Overton and Wokes, who have been useless. You know, Overton's not played a lot of Test cricket, granted, but Chris Wokes averages nearly 60 in overseas tests. So if you're going to have a refresh and you play Parkinson and Mahmood and Robinson, I could get on board and understand it. But to say we're bringing in new faces and play Chris Wokes just seems bizarre. So that test, our bowling attack in the next test is going to be even more boring. You know, Wood is out injured by the looks of it, so we're literally going to have no pace. I assume Robinson will hopefully come back in. He's very good, but you need an extra factor in that side. But I wouldn't have dropped Broad. I would have certainly taken with the squad and played maybe one or rotated one each test. But I really hope that it's not the end of those 2. And I would imagine they'll be back in the side for the home series this summer.
Do you think that they're bound to get a Guernsey in the English summer, surely?
Yeah, I imagine so. You know, I know Jimmy Anderson's 39, or he's nearly 40, but Stuart Broad's only 34, I think. You know, he's got 2. It's not like he's got 1 series left. You know, he could easily have 2 or 3 more years bowling. And let's be brutally honest, it's not like they've been bowling badly. They've been our best 2 bowlers. And, you know, Broad can go through phases of form, but in the Ashes series and in English summer, they both bowled really well. So I don't get it. It's not like they've been on the decline. They've both been still at the top of the game and contributing. So yeah, they'll have to play this summer. I can't imagine them not playing this summer.
But they just I mean, I don't want to put it so bluntly, but they deserve a farewell at home.
Yeah,
You orchestrate careers around a farewell at home, I know, but I can see the value in that. I mean, really, to me, that's what they deserve, and it'll be fitting. They're two of the most legendary bowlers that England have ever produced, and they will go down in history as being, at this point, fourth and about sixth on the list, which is remarkable.
Yeah, just I think that the whole of every pundit and every fan I've seen can't work out exactly why they've been left out, and if it does mean that they've never play again, then that would be horrible. I think it'd be really.
I can't imagine that being the case.
No, they've still got a lot to give. They could easily play another year or two. Anderson looks fit. Why not just keep them playing? We're bottom of the World Test Championships. Like, get them in, keep taking wickets, and start turning the form around.
Yeah. So in that instance, okay, Anderson Broad will get a Guernsey. I think that I'm disappointed Milan was dropped. I thought Zach Crawley has now justified his ongoing selection. Lees, I don't know enough about. He hasn't performed yet. Dan Lawrence at number 4. I'm perplexed with that one. Anyway, that's just some of my thoughts. Let's digress for a minute, and I can't help but talk about this. Is Shane Warne? Where were you, and what's your recollection of his passing?
Oh, I was in London. I was with a few people, and it came up on my Twitter, and I sort of said it, and no one could believe it really. And we sort of sat watching Sky Sports News for it to come up, and there was a delay, but I was pretty shook up really. Actually, I was a bit emotional, which sounds really silly, but can't believe it. I appreciate as you get older, the legends die, and the heroes that you remember from your childhood, they do start dying, but terrible, really sad. I appreciate that he was a bit of a renegade character, and no doubt went out in a typical Warney sort of style, but what a legend, what a hero. Every story you hear about him from past players or pundits or even just fans are, what a nice guy and what a hero he was. And I was 13 in that 2005 Ashes series. I was quite an impressionable young teenager, and just what a legend. Just will be very, very sorely missed for sure.
And it's amusing how we keep hearing now that there was Sir Donald Bradman, Sir Jack Hobbs, Sir Vivian Richards, Sir Garfield Sobers, but Shane Warne.
Yeah.
No, I reckon he'll get it posthumously. I reckon it'll happen pretty soon.
Well, I think it shows for even I was chatting to my girlfriend about it, who doesn't know much about cricket, and I said, he's got a state funeral. When it comes, if you look at England, who gets state funerals in this country, it's prime ministers, or I don't think there's many sportsmen who have had a state funeral. So it just shows the sort of the magnitude and the character and the influence he had on Australian sport. That that's what he's been offered. So no, it's pretty gutting and pretty terrible for cricket.
So Bahram Irani's working at your age. He's in our picture was 30 years old. He's worked at the Mats from 2005, less 12, add 30. So yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty smart. He's pretty switched on, Bahram, isn't he? I was 30 in January, so he's got me spot on. I know I don't look it. I know I look much younger and much more youthful. But
you're looking older now, I must say. No.
Thank you.
But Bahram Irani, of course, we've got Suman Awashi, who's a regular. We've got Nilakshi Sharma. Muncie's online. A lot of our regulars have come back, and I think they've come on because of you. Somehow.
I would doubt it.
Bit of a resurgence going on. Now, Tarun V wants to know, Chris Tour, your IPL team, you thought 2 new teams have been added this year, which was happened, which of course was Lucknow and Gujarat. Isn't it? Lucknow and Gujarat have come in. And we'll talk about IPL a bit further down the track. We'll come to that in a minute. Levi, we'll compartmentalise IPL a bit further discussion. But let's go. We've talked about England.
Yeah.
We had to bring up Shane Warne early enough because it's a very significant moment, as well as Rod Marsh. can you believe that Rod Marsh passed and there's Warren sending a tweet out about the passing, and within an hour he was dead.
I know, it's just it's amazing, isn't it? How, just obviously I think Rod Marsh, I guess from my point of view, Rod Marsh obviously is a name that but in terms of my lifetime, he's not as big a legend as Warney. I don't know, from your point of view, having seen both, who would be classed as a bigger cricketing icon in Australia. But obviously never nice to lose to, it's not been a good year, has it, for Australia in terms of losing cricketing legends? Dean Jones hasn't been dead long, and you've got Warney and Rod Marsh. So it's it's not nice.
When the 74 Ashes series happened, and you had Lilly, Thompson, Marsh, Chappells, Doug Wallers, Max Walker, and I'm very fortunate because I know all those guys personally. I've interviewed them. I've spent a lot of time with them. I've gotten to know them, had a drink with them. I can talk frankly about them. I know their lives, and even Lenny Pascoe I should throw in there as well. Ian Davis, John Dyson. There's quite a few out of that area that I know really, really well. So it hit me pretty hard because I know those guys personally.
Yeah.
And I certainly know Shane Warne after some 15 years in the media box around the world, especially in Australia. Although I didn't know him well, but I knew of him. No, I'm sorry. I knew him well enough that he would say, "Hello, Norm." He would say my name, which was, when I look back now, it still hits me quite hard. But yeah, Marsh probably more impacts me. Shane Warne still impacts me greatly. And I'm watching every video. He talks sense about cricket, doesn't he? He has some great videos on talking about cricket. It just blows you away. It should be a masterclass just on Shane Warne talking about cricket. One of the best ever, honestly. And he had the respect of Benno. And I remember being in the media box and Shane Warne would walk in, and everybody in that media box, whether it's print media, television media, anyone, they'd all rise to the occasion and walk towards him and make an effort to say hello to him. He was loved, despite his larrikinisms. All right, so that's a big thing for those guys. Obviously, Dean Jones is another one that we lost, which I think has been in the last throes of time. Yeah. And then I have people like Peter Philpott, Ashley Mallett have also passed that I knew very well, and Alan Davidson. So there's been quite a few Australian cricketers that have passed, and even Neil Harvey's not 100%, Bob Simpson, a couple others I know very well that are. So there's been quite a bit of a loss going on here in Australia. It's a bit of an epidemic almost. Yes, it's quite sad. But on a positive note, you've got great cricketers coming through. Mitchell Swepson got to go. His leg spin. He's been.
Yeah, I've not seen him bowl before, but I saw the first ball I bowled, and I literally sat there and thought, that's Shane Warne. His action, his walk up to the crease. You can tell how much of an influence someone like Shane Warne has had on Mitchell Swepson or leg spinners around the world. Because if you took Mitchell Swepson's head off and just showed the action, the walk up to the crease, the sort of the gathered bowl, he's copied his action on Shane Warne, hasn't he? So it's another just show exactly how much of an influence he's had on people like that.
Well, our good friend Alan Hollyoak obviously has a lot to do with Mitchell Swepson as well. As we remember when he released the information on his stress fracture on his back. I think you're on air when he talked about that. It was quite interesting when he talked, but that was only the last 12 months or so. Paul Newman's here. He's a guy that's been online quite a bit. Not the real Paul Newman, of course, he's passed away. But what about these? Another thing I wanted to get to, I don't want to rush it, but the discussion about the change in laws, the MCC laws.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on those?
Yeah, the Mancad, that's now coming as a standard dismissal. I still don't know if, as a bowler, I don't know if I would still do it. I think that situation dictates on Mancadding someone. I don't think generally I'd be able to do it. If a batsman, you've warned him 3 times and he keeps doing it, then that's slightly different. But I'm not sure how I feel about having that as a standard dismissal.
It adds a bit of trickery to the whole thing.
Yeah, I just don't know how I feel. Like I'd always be more confident that I'd be able to get the batsman out without having to do something like that. But and I think the not being able to cross a new batsman faces regardless I think Beram is right. Where he says it removes the controversy about if they crossed or not. I think that's a good point. But I think that's part of cricket, isn't it? It's always been a cross. New batsman coming in, make sure you cross. I always say it if I'm batting and my mate Sky's one. So, but yeah, I guess it's just the way that slight tweaks to the laws happen all the time. But it's not going to affect the game, is it? It doesn't really matter. It's not something that's going to make groundbreaking changes or influence games too much. I don't think so.
It's funny because I love the man cat because when I bowl my little slow dibby dabblers, I tend to love to pretend to bowl and try to man cat people. Did you see the cover of this particular video that we're doing?
No, I don't think so.
Are you able to look at it while we're talking?
I can try. Some
not
easy.
Bowled, neck and crop, and I think the name on the back of the jersey, it looks like Demuth from Kularatna from Sri Lanka, but I think it's been changed somewhat. I'm not sure. Certain Vernon, I've got the name on the back of it. All right, could help myself. Okay, so the first test, it was a road, fair enough, but Pakistan still dominated the match. This garbage about Australia controlling the tempo of the match was just that rubbish.
Yeah.
The second test is completely backflipped by the fact that, of course, Pakistan won the toss. Sorry, Australia won the toss. And Australia batted and they scored well over 500. And then, of course, they got Pakistan left 148. And now they're currently 214 with Baba Azam on 52 not out and Shafiq on 48. So wouldn't it be great if, it'll be an absolute miracle. But imagine if Pakistan won this.
Yeah, they would have to probably get to say they had 100 runs this session because Baba doesn't bat slowly. They need 300 in the last day. It is a pretty flat wicket. It's one of those where I don't see it happening, and I'm not saying it will happen, but it's a sort of wicket. If batsmen get in on it, that you could see it happening. The problem is I don't think Pakistan's lower middle order is going to contribute great. Babar Azam and Rizwan and Shafiq are probably going to have to get 150. One of them is going to have to get a big 100. You don't see Fawad Alam bats very slowly. He's solid, but you don't see Ashraf Ali down the order getting a 70 or an 80 to win the game on day 5. So it's going to have to be done. These two are going to have to put on at least another 150 for any, regardless, I think, to get the draw or the win. But it would be a great chase and would sort of really rub Cummings's odd declaration in the mud. But I don't see anything other than a most likely a Australian win.
But let's take away the fact they won't get 500. But if they bat the 2 days, which they're very capable of doing, having seen what they did in the first test, it's interesting, very interesting, because they've now, I think they've just gone to a 100-run partnership now, or they're very close to it. Shafiq's has scored 50. All right, so that's created a resurgence of cricket. I think a lot of Indians, a lot of subcontinent people are watching that match with great interest as well, because the India-Sri Lanka match was pretty much a non-event, wasn't it? India absolutely smacked Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, Sri Lanka aren't great. India very good at home. A couple of interesting wickets by the sound. I didn't see hardly a ball of it. Ravi Jadeja showed how good he was in the first test, especially when they were in a little bit of bother. I really don't think Rishabh Pant's number 5. He batted at 5, didn't he? And he's nowhere near good enough to be a number 5 in Test cricket. He's a very good game changer and a very good player. Don't get me wrong, but you need someone with a bit more stability and a more solid technique to bat at 5, especially overseas. Maybe they'll get away with it in India if they just pack a load of the all-rounders, sort of the spinning all-rounders in at 6, 7 and 8, or Iyer at 6. But I don't see him batting at 5 overseas because I think that's a very long tail then for India.
Yeah, look, it's go back to a couple of good positives out of the India-Sri Lanka series. Obviously, Ashwin now has gone to 8th position in overall wicket-taking efforts, which is quite incredible, really. I think the fact that he didn't bowl in the series against England at all, did he?
No.
It's remarkable. He could have had a few extra wickets in that series. The Shreyas Iyer rise to the team.
Yep.
Is great news. He's done very, very well. The dropping of both Rahane and Pujara is quite bold. I think it's very good, overdue. I think that's very positive. Ross Dickwell, I'm glad he's back after the COVID breach that he made. I like him a lot. And Demith Kuranarana batted pretty well, but the rest of the team didn't. So they're my good takes or takeouts of the series. The World Test Championship at the moment, Australia are on top. Before this end of this test, they're on top with Pakistan second, India third.
Yeah.
I know, I think it might be Australia, Pakistan, South Africa, India. And South Africa are bewildering me how they've been. It's hard to work out form with South Africa, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, they've just got a good bowling attack at the moment. They're going for a massive transition, aren't they? They've got, Norkia's fit, Rabada and Gidi. They've got a very decent backbones of a good case there. But, they're going through, similar to England, really. They're sort of going through that transitional period where they're going to not struggle, but they've been through it. Then they're still trying to replace De Villiers, Du Plessis, Amla, Smith. They're still trying to find that sort of winning formula from the last 4 or 5 years. So, but they're getting there. Keegan Peterson looks like a decent player. Van der Dussen looks a good player. So they'll get there, and it'll be good to see. It'll be good to see South African cricket back up where it belongs, which is up at the top.
Well, talking about South Africa, we can turn to women's cricket for a moment. South Africa beat England for the very first time women's cricket in a World Cup, which is a bit of a big deal. And England have lost all 3 of their first matches, albeit it's only the early stages, but England have to win the last 4 to have a chance. And South Africa look like they're going through, obviously, Australia, India, and New Zealand. Interesting. Have you watched any of that?
Not really. I've seen some of the highlights, and England have been very poor, especially their fielding. I think they dropped 9 catches in one game, which is just ridiculous. So, they obviously deserve to be down. They've obviously played a couple of the better sides early on, which is the luck of the draw. Sometimes you kind of want to play one of the minnows or one of the smaller sides just to get some confidence up. And they've been very poor, and you can't drop catches at that level and hope to win games. But they'd hope to win the last 2 or 3 games and hope that they can sneak through.
Have a look at this photograph. I don't know if you can see it. Do you see the batsman there? He's just been bowled comprehensively.
I can see it, yeah. And I've got some pictures of me getting cleaned up over the years. I'm sure I'll be able to find them.
Been bowling actually in that photo. I'm not sure whether
you wouldn't. You'd hardly knock the bails off, Norman, let alone remove the stumps out of the ground.
No, come on, don't be nasty. It's interesting how in Pakistan the first and second slip are well in front of the keeper.
I saw that. Yeah, interesting. You don't see that very often.
Sorry?
I saw that. You don't see that very often.
Well, especially the first slip. No. Cameron Green's coming on amazingly, isn't he? He's only 22 years of age, and he's already matured to be a talented Test player.
Yeah.
All right, go back to the rules for a minute. We talked about the man-cad. The fact that when someone's caught from a shot, if they've crossed the batsman who gets out, the person coming in has to go in and face the ball. What do you think of that?
Well, if they cross, it's not going to make too much of a change or an influence on the game. It's just one of those things that was always quite tactical, or, something as a batter that you could think of. But I guess now it doesn't really make a difference. But
why does it necessitate a change? Why do we have to change that?
I agree with you. I don't get why. I guess it does, as Baram said, it does iron out the controversy or arguments. Or we did cross, did they cross? We've all had that, but I agree. I don't see why you need to, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, the side conversation, Baram and Munchie going hammer songs, talking to each other, Tarun V and even Nalakshi, like they're having a bit of a natter there on the side, which is good to see. What other rules were there? I can't think of the other rules. What were the rules?
No, I don't know if they've changed too many. I can't think, but
I think it was 4 or 5.
Was it?
Anyway, it's interesting how that takes place, and I don't know exactly what the process is, but it seems like it's taken some time to get to that point. All right. A bigger discussion now on the IPL. Have you followed the IPL auctions at all?
I follow the auction. I haven't followed much else, to be honest. So I've been a bit out of the loop, but yeah, I will certainly watch it. I'm sure we'll get stuck in a couple of the fantasy leagues like I normally do, which will sort of help pique my interest, if that makes sense. But yeah, I followed the auction. I think there's a couple of interesting pickups, couple of bizarre ones as well. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes with the two new sides.
So, of course, the all-rounder that basically hasn't made it at Test level for India too much, and his name's just gone from my thoughts, who's the captain of the, is it the Gujarat side or Lucknow? I think it's Lucknow. The all-rounder who's been injured for a long time now, keeps being suggested to play back for India but doesn't always make it. Who am I thinking of?
Axar Patel, Deepak Hooda.
No, the player that was the next big thing for a number of years, who played Hardik Pandya.
Hardik Pandya, okay. Yeah, you're right.
He's settled himself on a captaincy role with one of the franchises and ultimately will be making a lot of money there because his test career is over.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and the dominance of some of the sides has changed. RCB, of course, have got Faf du Plessis captaining, retaining Molly and Glenn Maxwell, but bringing in Faf to be the captain.
Yeah.
That's your side as an RCB?
Yeah, it has historically been my side. I don't particularly like what they've done with the auction. I don't think they've bought particularly great. Certainly nothing too awe-inspiring. I guess Kohli will still be there. I always followed it because I like De Villiers. He's not out there, so it might be a terrible thing to say, but maybe once I see the sides fully, it might have to be a change of allegiances this year. But I still like RCB and I still follow them, but their side doesn't look the same as it was before, if that makes sense.
No, and of course Delhi's got good old Dave Warner. Dave Warner has gone there and left Sunrise over, which was expected. It's going to be interesting. I mean, CSK, even though they won it last year, or in fact, yeah, it was last year. I can't see them doing it again. Their playing strength, they haven't picked up too many players.
Yeah,
I'm still sitting with Punjab. I'm not sure what Punjab they've actually picked up pretty well. Amazing how many Australian players didn't get picked up at all. Did you see that, Chris?
Yeah, I saw that Finch has now come in. Is it to
Hales? KKR.
No, for Jason Roy. Hales is still there. Jason Roy, I think. Hales, I think, could be the best. If they play him, he came in at base price, didn't he? Or 1.5 crore, I think, something like that, 1 crore maybe. If he plays every game and they give him a chance, I personally think that he could be up there with leading run scorers. I think he's very, very good.
Well, Liam Livingston also got a good price.
Yeah, fair play to him. Can't argue with him on that one.
But in Australia, Steve Smith didn't get a Guernsey anywhere.
No.
There's quite a few Australians that were. I think Chris Lynn didn't get a Guernsey. Ben Cutting. It's quite a list, actually.
Yeah. I understand why Steve Smith didn't get. I think he's a very good test match player, but I wouldn't have him in the 2020 side. I think there's much better options out there. So.
Okay. Samal Nawashi saying Hardik Pandya is captain of Gujarat, which is what I thought right now, and going under a fitness test at the NCA to get clearance to play IPL, because the IPL only starts in 11 days' time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, and there'll be quite a few players that aren't available for the first games, such as some of the Australian players who are in Pakistan. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I think that with our World Cup coming up in Australia later this year, you haven't had COVID again, have you? In the interim, you had it once.
Me personally?
Yeah.
No, I haven't had it since. My girlfriend had it, and how I didn't catch it, I guess I probably still had a slight immunity to it. But yeah, I didn't. I haven't caught it since. So
I had it in January. Most of the Sydney test, which was very annoying, but otherwise no problems. Yeah, it's interesting though. Who do you think out of what you've seen, will make the World Test Championship final?
I don't. I mean, you're always going to say India, Australia, and New Zealand are probably going to be the best two, just because England are way behind now, aren't they, with the deductions and everything? So, it's just impossible to say, isn't it? So,
well, Australia would have to be one of them. India and Pakistan are probably going to be fighting out the other. And there is even some talk when Pakistan were doing well on the first test that they beat Australia in the series. It could have been Pakistan-India in the final, which would be. It actually probably is looking towards Australia and India, actually, at this relatively early stage. Okay. Yeah, and Samantha Awashi's correct. Both Jason Roy and Alex Hales have both pulled out of the IPL.
Oh, Hales as well. Okay, fair enough.
So I thought that, and I wasn't sure which one was Aaron Finch came in to replace, but they're both out. I heard that. And there's another English player as well I can remember too. So, yeah, it's a very it's still a pivotal tournament with 10 teams now. They're going to really cram it into 2 months, mostly. And I think Gujarat and I think Mumbai are the locations where the games will be held. India looks very difficult. And what do you mean, Baram, by it looks very difficult? I think that difficult for India to make the World Test Championship. Why do you say that? They've just beaten. They've won their 15th series at home. They've been unbeaten at home for the 15 series, and they're going to play Australia there. So that puts them in a good position there and then. I mean, the South Africans will certainly lessen them somewhat. England have to make their way back too, but they probably won't.
Yeah, I've had a big problem with the way the World Test Championship is run. We said it before. I think that you have to have the same number of games or the same number of series for it to be fair. You know, I think if you look at the table, I think Sri Lanka or South Africa played 4 tests and India and England played 11. You know, how can you have a fair judge on a competition where, you know, there's going to be sides that won't have played away in India and England have played away in India, or sides haven't come to England, or England have played 5 tests in Australia, not India don't go to Australia. No, it's such a... Surely for it to be fair, everyone has to play the same number of games. Everyone home and away, make it over 4 years if you have to. You know, make everyone play 2 series home and away, and that gives it a much fairer idea on the winner. And then you could have, instead of having a one-off final, why not have a 3 test match series to determine the winner over that period? You know, I think that would be a much better sort of a much better judge and a more exciting anyway, for sure.
So Samantha Washi just confirmed that Finch is replacing Roy, as you said, but a guy called Gurbaz, the power hitter from Afghanistan, is replacing Hales.
Yeah, okay.
How good he goes. Look, it's still a very pivotal tournament. Obviously, for financial reasons, they've done very well with that. We've got the one-off test between England and India. In India, is it? Or is it in England?
It's in England. I think it's just coming back to be over here. So
that'll be a bit weird. India having to travel to England for that one match, virtually. It'll be interesting. And then England tour Pakistan. You said what's England's? They're in the West Indies now.
Yeah.
Where do they go next?
I'm not sure. I think New Zealand are here for a Test match series early summer. I'm pretty sure it's New Zealand for 3 tests. I think
that's right.
And I think then maybe South Africa.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sure.
But there's going to be some interesting twists anyway in this whole situation, I must say. World Cup's coming as well. It's good 6 months away, but that's also in the radar. But I mean, Australia would be, again, favourites, but I think some of the subcontinent sides will do well enough.
Is that a 2020 World Cup or?
Sorry?
No. Is that 2020 World Cup, is it?
Yeah. The same as been squished into a...
12 months. Don't. Where in Australia? Is it in Australia?
No, it's just Australia.
Yeah, it's in Australia though. Where is the World Cup? Yeah, I don't think Australia be favourites. I don't think they went in as favourites to the last World Cup, and I know they won it, but they won a couple of good tosses. I think they won 7 games. They won 6 tosses. The one toss they lost was against England, who absolutely annihilated them. So I would imagine that India and England will still be favourites for that tournament. I know that Australia are a very good side and have shown that they're capable of doing it. But, I think that somewhere like Australia be better, just because I think the toss will be less important. There'll be less dew. The pitches are generally a bit better, a bit quicker, and conditions suit batting and bowling evenly. So I imagine that they probably won't be favourites. Obviously, if it's in Australia, defending champions, that will add to their chances. But I still think you would, if you had $10 to place on a team, I imagine you'd make betting on England or India first rather than Australia.
Okay. And of course, the Ashes next year in 23, which I will be back in England for.
Are the Sydney Cricket Club touring again? Are they?
Yeah, we are. We're coming back at you in 23.
Fantastic.
Get a better bloody ground. What was that ground that you put us on last time?
I don't know. I'll speak to the MC if you've got a game against the MCC, and I'll see if I can captain that game. Maybe I'll have to ask.
But get us. I mean, the nursery ground's not being used anymore, is it?
Yeah, it's unfortunately that's way above my pay grade. Nothing to do with me. So maybe if you ask nicely, who knows? Well, maybe even on. I think historically that game was played on the day 5, the day after the Test match pitch, wasn't it? So maybe that they'll maybe if you ask nicely, they'll.
Can you work your magic?
Nothing. I'm a very small fish in a very big pond.
But you can splash. Splash a bit.
You make a bigger splash than me, Norman.
Okay, well, we'll try our splash for sure. I know I'll make a bigger splash. I'm just bigger than you physically. That's another thing. So it was good to have your dad, actually, because I got him on the day that the announcement of Warren came out. I quickly grabbed him and he came on and gave his sympathies about it. It was quite an emotional little episode we had then, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on a bit more to, women's cricket in general. I watched South Africa, England. That was quite a gripping match, actually. England didn't play that badly. South Africa just played well, and Shubham Ismail and Trisha Shetty, two people I know very well, were both in there at the end together, which was interesting. Shrepson's bowling now, and he's bowling. He hasn't got the same repertoire as Warren. He hasn't got a flipper.
Oh no, I'm not saying he hasn't the slightest. And if he had, he'd have been playing Test cricket a lot sooner, I think. But just looking at his action, it looks like Warren, doesn't it?
Baramarani's just said that I'm a very big hippo in a very small pond. Baram, I'm going to take you. I'm going to take you on in a minute. Watch out.
That's not very nice, Baram.
Baram is not very nice at all. I'll get you.
Not very nice in the hippo either.
I beg your pardon. Don't you get on there, back. It's interesting how in Pakistan they use the drones directly over the batsman, and it's just an incredible shadow it's created. It's just amazing.
It would annoy me, that.
Or dramatic looking. It's really, really cleverly done, actually. I should get a hold of it. Yeah, it's have you seen that on the telecast?
I saw that when it goes in onto the balcony, and I hate in Australia at drinks breaks when they come on and they're interviewing players when they're playing. I think it's awful. I really, really think it's terrible. Why on earth players want to do that, and why on earth media companies and coaches and journalists and pundits think that that's an acceptable thing to do is beyond me. But hopefully that gets rid of.
You hope that doesn't happen, man.
Yeah, I hope it stops.
Okay. Let's do a bit of a video of that. I think it's intriguing. Okay. All right. So Krishna Mohan heard from the spin can only give breakthrough in an hour or so. Okay. Why are you saying in the pitch the spin's taking hold now? Baram said he insulted the hippo. Then now you're really even insulted the insult now. All right. So, okay. What else haven't we covered yet? Anything else that you'd like to express? Any thoughts that you've got anything that's annoyed you or pleased you in the last few months?
Lots annoys me, generally. The Broad and Anderson thing was really disappointing.
How was it handled in the press in England?
They didn't get it. Not very nicely. They certainly didn't understand it. So maybe Mr. Strauss obviously knows something we don't. But it didn't go down particularly well with anyone, I don't think. Yeah,
I tried. David Gravity and I haven't had a chat properly about the whole coaching saga with the sacking of the so-called both coach and selector in Chris Silverwood, and then of course then we had what's his name go to the chairperson. What was the position that he held? It was there was a chairperson, which Andrew Strauss now temporarily got.
Ashley Giles, is it?
Ashley Giles, correct. And Ashley Giles went, obviously, Silverwood went, Graham Thorpe went, and a few others went in quite a hurry. With Paul Collingwood, the interim coach, he hasn't been announced yet as the coach, has he? They haven't announced that yet, nor have we announced ours in place of Justin Langer. Either Andrew McDonald's still in the acting capacity.
So what happened with Justin Langer? Seemed a crazy, ridiculous that happened there with Langer, wasn't it?
What, in Australia you're talking about, or in your country?
Yeah, I mean, with Langer, didn't he have to ask to reapply for his job, and then sort of the way he was treated seemed pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it was bad. But I mean, look, the whole thing. How could two coaches from a national series lose their jobs? It doesn't make any sense, does it?
Well, and the fact that he'd won you a World 2020 a month before as well, when he never should have done, really. To be treated like that and then lose his job is ridiculous. So.
Well, there's a lot of discussion in Australia, and I think even in England, that Shane Warne was being considered to coach England, which would have been interesting. Imagine if that happened. It's not happening now, but that would have been interesting. And of course, Trevor Bayliss and/or Jason Gillespie are the two that are basically earmarked to be the potential coaches, unless Andrew McDonald keeps his position, which is the other thing. I'm very impressed with the way Shafiq and Baba Azam are batting. Their scores, it's 2 for 126 now, long way from victory, but pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think the disappointing thing would be
Harris Ralph. I think I told you about him. Went within a whisker of playing for Pakistan. He was about to be selected, but he got COVID. It's very sad.
Yeah, that's a shame.
What else is happening? What else? Give me some other gossip. Any other thoughts? I know you've been following your local football, as in we would call it soccer.
Yeah, I mean, proper countries call it football. So, it's been good. Yeah, it's Man City drew last night, which has opened the door open a little bit for Liverpool in the title race. But obviously the big news in this country, the press, is around Chelsea with the Russian owner, obviously with the war in Ukraine going on. So that's the key. That's the big news, really, is what's going to happen with Chelsea and the selling of the club and the restrictions being placed on them. So.
Are there many Russian owners? I mean, obviously the one for Chelsea, or the Russian oligarchs own other clubs?
No, just Chelsea, really. There's probably some investment somewhere, but very famously Chelsea. I don't think any other football clubs. There's a few Saudi Arabian owners, and that's obviously sparking other debates because they obviously come from equally tetchy or dodgy money. So in terms of human rights and everything like that. So obviously the press having a bit of a field day with some of that, but it's all surrounding Chelsea really at the moment. So
how has this whole Ukrainian situation affected you in England? Obviously you're a bit close to comfort there.
Yeah, I mean it's had no real effect on us at the moment. I mean, fuel prices are shooting up, but in terms of, I guess, public awareness and the public are generally probably more nervous that if it was to escalate, I know the Americans and us are probably best allies, but London will be a very big target for, I guess, a nuclear bomb or nuclear missile. If Russia wanted to turn on us, then we're probably the first country to get it, I guess. So I think people are slightly nervous about that. I think that hopefully it will. Obviously, it's been pretty terrible what's happening, but hopefully it can finish or some kind of agreement can be met and we can try and move on. But it's clear that the man in charge in Russia is doing what he wants to do. I think a lot of the soldiers or the public in Russia don't even know what's going on. I think I saw a video of a lady in Russia who didn't even realize that they'd invaded Ukraine. I think the press and the media there are sort of whitewashing, brainwashing and keeping everything sort of under wraps just so that the people don't turn on them. But all the sanctions that the West are trying to impose, McDonald's has shut restaurants, that the banks are shutting off the money, I imagine that what might stop it will be maybe a social or the people of Russia might start to rebel or because that they've worked quite hard, that country, to become a Western. Worked hard for their money, worked hard for the lifestyle they've got, and if that thing starts stopping, and that poverty goes chucked into depression or into poverty, then I don't see the people being very happy about it. So hopefully, soon we can put an end to it, and we can try and start to rebuild Ukraine and move on.
I think Tharun V has just mixed up the name Butler and Putin. He's created a name Putler. That's a combination. No, Butler plays cricket and Putin is the Russian leader.
I think that he's referring to another famous dictator in World War history. I assume he's mixing Putin and Hitler up.
A Putin Hitler mix. That's quite clever, actually. I like that. That's a new one if that's the case. I haven't heard that before. Yes, no, it's been fantastic. Look, we've given a very broad brush now. This being some 19 episodes of this show, we've obviously thrashed out a lot about England versus India at the time, England in general. But do you think who would you like to see as England coach?
Oh,
and they'll have a chance selectors too, won't they?
It's a pretty out there suggestion, but if England really wanted to do some shithousery, for the want of a better word, on this channel, why not go for Justin Langer?
It'd be intriguing, wouldn't it, if that was the case?
Yeah, but English coaches, I don't know. Difficult one, isn't it? To try and find the right balance. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Do you think because Paul Collingwood's the interim coach, he could stay as coach?
Possibly. I don't see it. I think they like him in the one-day setup. I think he was obviously, that's where his speciality is. So I imagine they might try and keep him in charge of the one-day setup and bring someone in for the test match side.
I hope we get Trevor Bayliss for Australia. I really do. There is some word afoot about him being picked, and it would be good because he's been a great coach for England and Sri Lanka, hasn't he, over the time? Yeah. Munchie's got to go. It's an 11 o'clock meeting. Great show again. See you all soon. Okay. Thank you, Munchie. And we're about 3 minutes to go before 10 o'clock. So we've done well too. Okay. Give me a minute to 3 minute summation of world cricket in your learned mind, Chris.
Not very learned. Aussie's going well. India very boring. Never going to lose at home. So obviously a very good side, but hopefully, that team they're probably the best side in the world at the moment, I would imagine, in Test cricket. Aussie's going well. Not been tested yet. I imagine that the Pakistan series is the first time that they will have had a proper test. Looking forward to the IPL. Looking forward to seeing how the new 10 teams go, and then just really looking forward to getting into the summer here. We'll be. Our first game is in a month's time outside. So we've been training and pre-season netting and everything. So looking forward to getting back outside when the weather warms up. Fine. Yeah, Sevenoaks fine. Yeah, we're going to be an interesting season for us, I think. So there's a couple of Aussies. There's a Big Bash player, I think, come over this season, is playing in our league as an overseas. Plays for the Redbacks. His name is David Grant.
Oh, yeah.
So he's playing for Sandwich Town, who Marnus Labuschagne played for 5 or 6, 7 years ago as an overseas. So they always have a decent overseas. But, it should be good. Looking forward to. It's always nice when the winter and, you guys in Australia don't quite have the winters that we do. But nice for the warmer weather and it a bit sunny and a bit warmer to come back and we can get outside and start doing some more fun things.
That's true. I mean, I did hear, ever since you mentioned Sevenoaks Fine, I've heard it mentioned several times when they talk about Steve Smith having had a Guernsey with you guys.
Yeah. Zach Crawley as well.
How long ago was that?
Steve Smith, I wasn't at Sevenoaks at that time, but I think it was 2006, 7, 8, 9, something like that, I think so. Maybe,
More than 1 year?
Pardon?
More than 1 year?
No, he was 1 year. I don't know exactly what year it was.
Okay. All right. That's all right. All right. Thanks, Chris. I really have enjoyed this. The time's gone pretty quickly. We've talked about all sorts of topics. But in terms of the IPL, you're still in favour of RCB. I'm always in favour of KKR and Delhi Capitals. The new Gujarat Lions and the Lucknow, what do they call Lucknow something? I'm not sure what they call it.
Super Giants.
Yeah, will be interesting. I think they both going to add some more spice to it. But mind you, it's only going to create more games. I'm not sure that's necessarily something that we really want, but we'll see how it works. And they're actually thinking about putting 2 more sides in the next couple of years as well. So that'll make it a huge competition. And the money, I don't know where the money's going to come from, but that's what they're saying. All right, it's gone 10 o'clock. We haven't quite gone an hour. We've gone about 4 minutes because we started a bit late. I guess we've gone 55 minutes, but that's great. I appreciate that. Chris, An Aussie and a Pom, episode 19, has come to a conclusion thanks to your help.
No worries.
And we'll get you back as soon as you can.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to make sure it's not another 246 videos away. So we'll definitely put something in the diary for the next few weeks, I'm sure.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot.
It's great seeing you, Norman, and everyone at home. And we'll be on soon, I'm sure.
We'll talk about next year as well, about the future SCG11 tour.
Definitely, right, sounds good.
Chris, thank you very much.
See you later. Cheers, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to have Chris on. It was magnificent. He has a great thought process. We had Munchie, we had Suman Mawashi, we had Vasant in the Rain. Obviously, we had Namakshi, Tarun V. We had a whole range of people there. Brahmarani, of course. It was a great conversation. Is the new COVID wave in China concerning? I don't think so, Tarun. Everyone's lesser than the previous one. So on that basis, I'm not unhappy about that at all. All right, guys, I'm going to shoot off now because within an hour's time, I'll be back on again, specifically talking about Australia versus Pakistan. I'll have Mohsen Sheikh and other guests that I've invited. So this was specifically an Aussie and a Pom talk all things cricket, catching up on episode 19. Thank you for that. Join me in an hour's time. The other link is there for you. We'll talk more about cricket there, specifically Australia, Pakistan, and a bit of the fallout from India, Sri Lanka as well. So all the best, guys. Don't forget to view, like, and share, subscribe, hit the notification button. Another session in an hour's time. See you then.